Hi guys, let me know if you can see me. Those who are joining us, good to see all of you. And just let me know if you can see me, can hear me. Everything is going if there is any issue, just let me know. I think we are live now. Hi guys, I think you can see me now. Good to see all of you guys over here. Just let me know who all have come, and good to see all of you guys over here. So in this stream, I will be discussing a few more sets. I'll be discussing two more sets from decision making. This particular stream will be focused on decision making, which is based on like HR, human resources, and organizational behavior. These are two intertwined topics when it comes to decision making, and it's good to have a very good hold on these topics when it comes to decision making, because you're assured of at least one set in XAT based on this topic, and it is one of the easier sets to do because it is more instinctive and not intuitive at most of the time. So good to see all of you guys who are joining us. Those who are joining us, please like the stream and just put in a hi so that we know that you guys are joining. Hi Mahesh, good to see all of you guys over here. Hi Abhishek, hi Ananya, good to see. Hi Ananya, I hope your cat went well. Good to see you back on our streams. And hi, negative marking for overall attempted questions more than 8 per section, or 8 overall, not 8 per section, 8 overall. So all across that, if you leave more than 8 questions, there'll be some negative marking. Hi Amisha, hi Imran, good to see all of you guys. And hi Ayushi, good to see you back. Hi Sanchita. So good to see all of the regulars also coming back in, and those who are joining us, please like the stream. It will help us reach more students and encourage us to hold more of these streams. What is the strategy in the XAT VALR section? I try to focus on the RCs. I try to focus even on the poem RC as such, because for me particularly, I find it more deterministic than grammar and sentence correction. Often you miss small parts in grammar, and you might lose marks over there. Even parajumbles, I find XAT parajumbles to be on the whole a bit harder than CAT parajumbles. So the foundation of my VALR attempt when it comes to XAT is firstly RC. From that, after that, I choose like certain parajumbles I'm more comfortable with. I choose parts of XAT which I'm more comfortable with. Like sometimes when you have to pick which of these are grammatically incorrect sentences, then using the options and knowing which sentences are definitely incorrect, I think I have a fairly reasonable accuracy over there. So that is generally my strategy when it comes to VALR. Okay, so good to see all of you guys here. I see 50 guys on the stream and another 30 on the site. So guys, please like the stream. If you like the stream, more students will be able to join us. And if more students join us, we actually feel very motivated to hold more of these streams. I want to hold more of these streams so that before XAT, so that you guys are like rock solid when it comes to DM. If you crack DM, I know that all of those guys who have been with us through the CAT journey as well would have a fairly good hold on Quant, VA as such. So if you guys can crack the DM section, I'm sure you will be able to crack XAT completely. So good to see all of you guys over here. Hi Amisha. So Amisha is saying my percentile is around 60 to 70, scoring low because of Quant. What to do? Amisha, in this case, firstly focus whether you have a good hold on all concepts. Revise all the concepts. If you have already prepared for CAT, go and see all the concept videos again. Revise the overview videos as such, the larger topic videos. And after that, keep practicing. So have targets that I'll solve 50 quant questions every single day. A lot of improving in quant depends on how many questions you solve. So if you put a target of 50 questions a day, I'm sure you will be if you solve 50 questions a day, I'm sure from now till XAT, you'll see like remarkable improvement. So hi Anshul, hi AK, good to see all of you guys joining in. Those who are joining us, If you guys are looking for a booster for your XAT DM preparation, do check out our Kraku's crash course, and particularly we have a crash course part for DM as well. We cover DM extensively in our crash course. Also do check out XAT, our Kraku's XAT mocks. We have 5 XAT mocks, so it's over here for 299. So please do check out 5 XAT mocks that are there. If you have not taken a XAT mock yet, please start taking XAT mocks. They are slightly different in their format, and it makes a lot of difference whether you've taken 2 XAT mocks or 3 XAT mocks before the actual day as such. So please start taking mocks. Make sure that you take at least 1 mock by tomorrow, and before XAT day you have at least the experience of taking 3 to 4 XAT mocks at the very least. Okay. So good to see like 73 guys have joined us. Guys, please like the stream. Please share the stream as much as possible. If any of your friends are preparing for XAT, please let them know about our streams. And in this particular stream, I'll be covering XAT DM. So I'll be covering organizational behavior and HR policies. They are not exactly the same, but they are very closely related. As in, the HR policies are made or formulated after keeping in mind the organizational behavior. Not all organizations are same. For example, a Twitter, the organizational behavior of a Twitter will be very different from Tata Consultancy Services. They are producing 2 different products. They have very different HR policies, internal work culture. They are different. So you have to be mindful of the work culture of the organization, and you have to formulate policies or behavioral policies that actually aid the particular organization that you're thinking about. So in Twitter, you can, for example, if you're considering the organizational behavior of Twitter, you can't enforce a strict dress code or anything of that sort. If you are considering the organizational behavior of a bank, you have to then enforce a dress code. So all of those things are what I'll be discussing over here. I'll have 2 DM sets on organizational behavior and HR. So I'll be putting the first set by 5:10. I'll be giving a brief intro about organizational behavior before that, but mostly how to actually solve this set will we can understand after looking at an actual set. Okay, so good to see all of you guys over here. Hi Anupriya. Okay, if you're facing issues with DM questions which have quant involved, there is a specific part of quant that you need to improve in, which is linear programming and break-even analysis. Try to solve more questions from that particular part. Linear programming you would have learnt in around your 10th standard. Break-even analysis also you would have seen when you have like variable costs and fixed costs. See our profit and loss videos, see our videos on profit and loss overview where we have discussed all of that part. If you have a good hold on those 2 concepts, it becomes easy to solve the ones which involve some amount of quant analysis. It won't be an exact quant analysis the way you have a quantitative question, but having a good hold of how a business breaks even, when it makes profit, when it makes loss, would make a lot of difference, or would bring some stability to your scores in those kind of DM sets. Okay. What is the chance of getting a quant-based DM? Actually not very high. Most of the DMs are qualitative rather than quantitative. Max one set will come which involves any kind of number crunching as such. Okay, good to see like there are 96 people over here, and so Anshul is saying that he's feeling nervous to give exam or not. Definitely give the exam. See, your percentile in your mock does not determine your percentile in the actual XAT exam. Don't get too obsessed with the percentile in your mock. Again, firstly, you are now seeing your percentile against other serious XAT takers. On actual XAT day, you will be mostly sitting with XAT aspirants who have not really prepared that much. So don't worry, you have much stiffer competition when it comes to percentile on Kraku website or on any in Kraku mocks than you have in the larger population that takes XAT. So don't get demotivated by your percentile. Just remember that you have to focus on improving whenever you have any kind of question which you don't do well in XAT. In the XAT mock, you have to understand, okay, why was I not able to solve this question? Focus on improvement. Don't obsess on this about the score. See where you could have actually gotten more marks. Focus on those parts. Try to improve on those parts. That's the only takeaway that you should essentially take away from a mock. Not the score, not the percentile, but where could I improve? Okay, just focus on that. I'm sure you will do very well in that. Okay, so guys, let's start. Those who have joined us on YouTube, and I see over 100 people over there, please like our video. I see only 67 likes for the video, so please like the video. Also, please head over to krakow.in/live. This is where the test is going to take place. So I'm going to give the 2 DM sets in the test format. You will be able to solve them first, and then I will explain how to actually solve. So it's not a one-way communication. You solve first, you attempt the set, and if you get wrong, you can try to understand where you went wrong. So I'll be posting the set in like 2 minutes. So I hope please go over to krakow.in/live, and we'll be posting the set soon. So I'll just give you a basic overview of how to think of organizational behavior. The first, when you have an organizational behavior and an HR policy kind of DM set, first thing that you should do is identify all the stakeholders. When you have a company, okay, so the company, the first stakeholder that you should think of is the company itself. So for example, if I am thinking of say Twitter, then Twitter, the company would be one of the major stakeholders. Below that, you would have other stakeholders such as the management, then you have the employees, then you have the consumers or customers, then you have the board of governors or board of directors. Other stakeholders are like legislature or like government or judiciary. So it's essentially external regulation as such. Any other kind of external regulation. So when you identify all the stakeholders, then you have to understand that whenever you take any decision about your company or the policies of the company, you have to understand how does it affect each part or each stakeholder as such. The first foremost effect you have to actually gauge is on the company itself. So for example, if I go in and say that okay, Twitter will have it will have a flexible working week where people can come in 2 days a week and have 3 days a week off and can work from home for 3 days a week. Now, first thing that you have to consider is the impact on the company itself. Will the company meet its goals? Will it meet its profit targets? Will it meet its like product development targets? You have to first think of the company, because before the employees, before the management, before everything external, you have to first think about the health and the long-term sustainability of the company. After that, you have to consider all the other stakeholders, whether the employees will benefit from this change or will they suffer from this change. Will the management benefit from this change or would they suffer from this change? How would the consumers be affected? How would external regulation be affected? So first identify the stakeholder, and whatever is the decision, you have to consider the impact on each stakeholder. Secondly, you have to also, you can't have a one-size-fits-all kind of approach. There will be certain things that work for your particular organization. So for a tech organization, giving more freedom in terms of creativity is important. For an ad organization, creativity is of paramount importance. So there you have to consider that what actually is ensuring success of my organization, and you have to ensure that whatever is actually working for your organization, you do not disturb that, you do not amend that saying that okay, banks work in this way, so an advertising firm will also work in this way. So you have to ensure the successful policies are not disturbed. And finally, you have the HR policies, organizational behavior. You have the basic rules of HR, that is non-discriminatory, nothing illegal, nothing unethical should be done. Your policies should be fair, transparent, non-discriminatory, should be capable of withstanding scrutiny, essentially. Now, when you have something like this, when you have this framework in mind, capable of withstanding scrutiny. Now, when you have this framework in mind, just remember that when you are dealing with an organization, especially when you are dealing with an organization with hundreds of employees, you should never take any very drastic or irreversible steps. You should generally have especially if that one decision affects hundreds of people, you should have make careful considered moves. Why? Because essentially most of these when you take decisions, it affects the lives of hundreds or thousands of people. So you should be careful and analyze and consider and study what would be the impact before taking a decision. A CEO or a management CXO level person cannot take a flippant decision. So the chief financial officer cannot say that, okay, I'm going to cut perks. One fine day, he just sends out an email saying, I'm going to cut perks for everybody, all sales people in the organization. Why can't he do that? Because the salespeople have essentially made their budgets, their house budgets, their home budgets based on the policies of the company. If you suddenly on the offhand change the policies of the company, this is going to have a severe impact on many employees. So all your decisions should be careful, considered, think, evaluate, form committees and think about it, communicate in advance, give your employees advance notice so that they can change or adapt to the changes better, and then make decisions, okay, then make changes or larger organizational changes. So that is the basic thing that I will leave you with when it comes to OB sets. Please, whatever the doubts that you have about XAT and DM, please post over here. I will be going through them. I'll post the first set and then I'll be trying to answer all of the questions that you have. The guys who are still on like the live chat, first of all, please like the stream. I see only 85 likes when 120 people have joined us. So please like the stream. Also, please head over to kraku.in/live. This is where the test is going to take place. So please head over to kraku.in/live. I'll be posting the first set in 1 minute. Okay, so let's go. Everyone, I hope, is there at kraku.in/live and start. Okay. Hi Lakshay, good to know that you got 113 in CAT. That is very good score as such, and I hope you are you have prepared well for. Okay, what happened? Are you guys able to see this? Okay, cool. Okay. So this is the first set, okay, and you have 3 questions, which is this is mostly a set which is coming from a government organization. With a government organization, you have a more formal bureaucratic structure that you have to think of. So think with that kind of a point of view and identify all the stakeholders over here and then take a decision. Okay. Now, if you guys are unable to see the entire set, I would say firstly go to kraku.in/live. Even if you're joining us, even if you're seeing this video later on, you still go to kraku.in/live, you'll still see the test as such. So please head over there. You will be able to see the question and the set properly in the test format. So please head over to kraku.in/live. That is where you will be able to answer this particular set. So, hi, Zahid, I can't actually predict how much you'll get in the XAT exam. It depends on the difficulty of the exam. But what I would actually suggest is don't focus on the mock scores. Focus on where could you improve. What are the areas where you are scoring below potential. I'm sure there will be many areas which you could actually improve in. You have 10 days. Focus on improvement rather than on your mock score. So say that, okay, these are 5 areas which I think that, okay, I should definitely be able to solve few more geometry questions, or I should definitely be able to solve few more arithmetic questions, or this was a DM set that I understood but I didn't attempt correctly. So you have to identify which areas you could improve in and focus on that. The obsession with that mock scores, mock section, like mock percentiles is not helping you much. Focus rather on what are the areas that are highlighted as the weak areas. If, for example, if you take Kraku's mocks, you will generally see a section which is dedicated to strengths and weaknesses, identifying areas where your accuracy is low, where your attempt rate was low. See that and go in depth into that particular analysis, find where you could actually improve. Focus on that. Okay. So, like, hi Lakshay, sorry, I was telling you, congratulations on your 113, but still focus on that. I always say that even those who have done very well in CAT still do a very good job in that, because even if you get into a through CAT to a top B school, Even then, if you have a very good XAT score, still you will have an additional resume point because of that. So don't take XAT lightly. Try to get like 99.5 percentile plus in XAT as well, so that you have one more resume point to put in your point to put in your resume as such. So focus and crack XAT as well. I'm sure if you have done so well in CAT, you can crack XAT as well. Okay. Guys, let me know if there is any issue with this. Shrishi, the test is started. I hope you are able to see it. Okay. If you guys are looking for XAT DM course, Suri has put the link to it in the chat on chat box on our website. So do check that out. It is it's a very good course focused on helping students crack XAT. So do check that out. So, how to improve in RCs and CRs having difficulty in philosophical passages? Well, good luck for you. Good news for you is that philosophical passages are not that common in XAT. Still, I think you have to improve in CR, irrespective of whether philosophical passages come in XAT or not. Focus mostly on, if you have access to Krakow's platform, focus on strengthening and weakening of arguments. That is, I feel, the core of CR. If you understand what strengthens an argument, you understand all of CR. If you understand what weakens an argument, you understand all of CR. Read every paragraph with a critical eye. What is the assumption made by the author? What are the conclusions that the author has arrived at? What would actually strengthen that conclusion? What would weaken that conclusion? If I was arguing against the author, what kind of evidence would actually help me argue against the author? What kind of evidence would support the author's claim? If you have that mind going all the time whenever you read anything, it would help you quite a bit. Okay, so try to solve try to ace the strengthening and weakening part. All part of CR will actually flow from that as such. Okay, so let us see how people are doing over here. Okay, so I think most people have there's no time left, but I think people have. Okay, yeah. So the most of you guys got the first question right, and I think the second question was slightly harder, and the third question was, I think this is still not updated. So the mostly first question everybody got right. So let us see the first question first. The public school system of District 1, D1 was facing a crisis. Over the past few years, student enrollment in the government schools had fallen by 2 million, while private schools acquired 5 million new students, according to a recent report. This was surprising considering that 89% of D1's population was economically struggling. The pertinent question here, why were students opting out of government schools that offer free education and migrating to free charging private institutions in such large numbers? The mayor of D1 wanted to form a reform committee to tackle the above mentioned issue. In this regard, he requested the district education officer DEO to identify and hire experts in the domain who can help revamp the public school system of the district. The objective of the reform committee was to redirect the focus of public schools around teaching and learning, to drive improvements in student achievement, and to mitigate or eliminate all potential loopholes in the existing public school structure. This necessitated individuals who had clarity of the challenge, clarity in their vision, and the commitment and courage to do what was necessary to reach that vision. All of the following. So, what is the setup first? Before we come to the question, what is the setup? Here, your organization is the public school system. You are the mayor of D1 is reaching out to the district education officer, and he has to form a reform committee, and that reform committee has to make changes to the public school system, because what you are seeing is that people are leaving the public school system in droves, and they are actually going to a private school system in spite of the fact that you are free and the private school system is not free. So there is something significantly wrong with your organization. Your job is to find make a research committee to figure out why are they leaving, what is the problem, and try to reform the school system so that you fix these issues as such. So that is the setup as such. Now let's take a look at the first question. All of the following could be potential reasons that answer the pertinent question presented in the instructions, except. So what are the reasons that could actually cause people to leave the public school system and go to private school system? That is what is asked. Which of these could be the reasons why people are leaving the public school system? So the first one is operational management and implementation inefficiencies. The public school system is rife with bureaucratic political interference. There are no process timelines or deadlines for undertaken projects. See, if this is if the public school system is run in an inefficient manner, the projects are delayed, there is no proper timeline, you can understand in any organization which is run poorly, that organization is not able to satisfy its customers' demands, because irrespective of what that organization is, if it is run poorly, if it has poor operations, no matter whether it is free or not, people are going to leave that organization because they can't it is just poorly run. People can't rely on an organization like that. So A would definitely explain why people are leaving the public school system. So this is definitely a valid reason. So I'll eliminate option A. Inadequate and substandard workforce. So if you have an inadequate and substandard workforce, would your organization suffer? Definitely. If your employees are demotivated, unenthusiastic about work, or essentially of just not competent enough, your organization will suffer, no matter what that organization is. So there is a high attrition rate among public school teachers. A large percentage of teachers are unqualified and there is no sense of accountability in them. If that is the case, you can imagine what kind of education they are imparting. If that is the case, then people are definitely going to leave because they are going to feel that the teachers are not really doing their job properly. This in fact would be a huge pain point for parents, and if you have poor quality teachers, you are definitely going to take your child out of the public school system and going to send them into a fee charging private institute. So this would definitely be a very valid reason for the observation as such. So I can eliminate B also. Infrastructural constraints. There are safety concerns regarding old buildings in dire need of repairs. A lot of tenders for constructing classroom recreational setups often go unclaimed. Now, if this is the case, if you have a poor infrastructure, what is going to happen? Parents are going to feel that their child is going into an unsafe school. The school building can fall on them at any point of time. Obviously, if you're a parent, immediately you would say that no way can my child go in a school like that. You would definitely remove him from that school and put him in a private institute. This would definitely explain what was going on in that particular scenario. So C can also be removed. B and C are very immediately observable as something that would definitely explain why it is happening, why people are moving away from the public school system. Public mindset. Parents and masses in general believe private schools to be superior given the negative portrayal of the public school system in the media. So essentially, what does this mean? What does negative portrayal mean? It means that you have a poor brand in terms of the public mindset. If you are any organization, if consumers have a poor view of you or your brand has a negative kind of outlook, people are going to leave you. That is for sure. So if you consider all of the factors that cause people to leave your brand, your marketing, your operational inefficiencies, your lack of safety, all of these are top concerns. So irrespective of what your organization is, if you have a negative brand image, people are going to desert you. So this also explains why people leave public school system and go for a private school system. Now let's consider option E, exclusivity. There are very few private schools while every neighborhood had at least one public school. If your neighborhood has a public school, it would be easier for you to actually send your child there rather than sending to a private school that is far away. Again, how exclusive can the private school be if like people are going to it in droves? In fact, there's a large scale migration going on away out of the public school system into the private school system. So in no way are the private schools exclusive in any way as such. So the claim to exclusivity is definitely not supported. In fact, it is contrary to what is given in the passage as such. So this does not explain why people are leaving. This is in no way supporting an idea of exclusivity. So E would not be the reason why people are leaving. So right option to choose would be option E. Now let's take a look at the second question. Okay, why not C? C would be actually in this case C would be infrastructural constraint. Basically says that you have unsafe buildings. Would you send a child into a unsafe school building, a school building that could collapse on him if it's in dire need of repairs? Obviously not. No parent would actually send a child into that. So that would explain why they're leaving the public school system. So this is a valid reason. So definitely C would be a strong reason to remove your child from the public school system and send them into a private school system. So let's take a look at the second question. Over here you have The DEO interviewed a set of candidates over the week and briefly listed out the prominent traits of the 5 selected shortlisted individuals. Who among the given list is unlikely to make it to the reform committee? So you are asked about who cannot make it to the reform committee. Most of you guys got that wrong. Actually, a majority got it wrong, but at least some got it right also. So let us take a look at this. Who could it be? So what were the, firstly, before you even look at the people, what was the requirement of the reform committee? So the reform committee, objective of the reform committee was to redirect the focus of public schools around teaching and learning, to drive improvements in student achievement, and to mitigate or eliminate all potential loopholes in the existing public school infrastructure. This necessitated individuals who had clarity of the challenge, clarity in their vision, and commitment and courage to do what was necessary to reach that vision. So this is your job description. This is your qualifying criteria. If you fail any of these things, you will not be in the selection committee. You have to have clarity of the challenge, clarity of the vision, commitment and courage to make the necessary changes. Apart from this, you will need domain experience, you will need some kind of expertise as such, but these are absolute must-dos as such. So now let's take a look at the people. T has worked at a non-profit organization dealing with needy schools in D1 and wants to contribute further, has clear innovative ideas that can be implemented in the existing public school system. So he's committed, he has ideas, clear ideas, clarity in vision, clarity of the challenge, and is committed to work. So he's fitting the bill perfectly, plus he has experience. Let us take a look at the potential issues as well. Has just 3 years of experience, not well versed with existing legislations. But having a good hold of legislations was not really a necessity in the given job description as such. They might have a different legal team apart from the reform committee itself. So this might not be a issue enough for you to filter out somebody. So again, and 3 years of experience, they have not said that you need like years of experience to actually reform the system. So the potential issues do not trip the required test, and whatever is given as prominent points actually help him clear the test as such. So Mr. T would definitely be in, so I would remove him from the person who would not make it to the reform committee. So Ms. P co-founded a non-profit that has reformed failing schools earlier, so she has experience, has a decade-long experience of working with cross-functional teams and is intent on being part of the committee. So she has experience, she is committed to making a change as such, not well versed in existing legislations. See, even if she is not well versed in existing legislations, it does not mean that she cannot be part of the reform committee. Essentially, what is required, have they said that the reform committee members need a good idea of legislations? They might not actually need them to actually make legislations on their own. They might have legal aids that can help them understand the legislations that are in place and what can be done and what cannot be done. So again, this is not something that not a person would fail to make it as such. Mr. Q worked as a policymaker and a legal advisor for the past decade, has an in-depth understanding of existing legislations regarding public school system and the loopholes with the same. So essentially this person is an insider knowledge, has insider knowledge of the system, the existing public school system. He has insider knowledge of it, also has a lot of legal knowledge, was unsure about his vision of restructuring public schools. Here we are finding somebody who is stripping one of the tests. One of the tests is that you have to have clarity of the challenge, clarity of vision and commitment and courage to do what is necessary. This person has insider knowledge but no clear vision of how to actually change it. So there is no clarity of vision. This person is not likely, is less likely to actually go through to the team because they are failing one of the tests. Now let's take a look at Mr. K. Was the previous DEO, has been able to improve the educational infrastructure to some extent during his tenure, so has some experience of the job as such, has an in-depth understanding of the issues with current public schools, so has clarity of the challenge because he knows this job in and out, so has clarity of the challenge. Believed in immediate results instead of gradual progress. Even if that is the case, in no way has it been said that you need to have a multi-year plan in place. It is not failing any of the tests that the DEO has actually identified. So again, this is not somebody who would fail to make it to the reform committee. Has worked with the mayor earlier on bringing policy reforms concerning social welfare. So again, has some experience, has a clear vision of how public schools can be reworked. So has a clarity in vision, is passing one test and not failing any test. needs more in-depth understanding of on-ground administrative processes at public schools. But a deep understanding of public schools was not given as a requirement. What was given is clarity in vision, clarity of challenge, commitment and courage. There were 4 requirements, and Ms. Y is not failing any of them. So again, this person need not actually worry about making it to the reform committee. So of the given 5 people, Mr. Q is least likely to make it to the reform committee because of the 4 tests that were put. Q is failing one of them, none of the others are failing any test as such. So the person who is least likely to make it to the reform committee is Mr. Q. And I know that many people would have chosen Mr. Q because they would say that, okay, this person has no knowledge of existing legislation, this person has no knowledge of existing legislation. If I put Mr. Q in, he balances, counterbalances their deficiencies, and that would make for a better team. Now, whether you select Mr. Q or not should not depend on whether there are other people in the team. Mr. Q has to be selected on his own abilities or deficiencies as such. And again, you don't know whether the in-depth knowledge of legislation is needed for this post. You could make a reform committee, give them legal representation, give them legal aids to actually help them in forming decisions which require in-depth knowledge of legislation as such. So here you are kind of tricked by, or rather tricked by giving extra conditions that were never part of the original description of the job as such. So if there's a job description, try to stick to the job description rather than finding new skills that the person could potentially offer. Okay, and now let's take a look at the third question. The reform committee noticed that patronage was pervasive in the existing public school system. This indicated that bureaucrats, administrators holding important positions misused their powers to tweak the hiring process and assign positions to their close relatives or friends. This also implied that any form of reformation would be difficult since these administrators would continue to interfere using their influence. In this regard, which of the following is the most appropriate step going forward? So here you have an issue of organizational behavior. Here you have the issue that there is some amount of nepotism or patronage going on, where people are giving jobs to their friends, to their relatives, or giving jobs based on where they are essentially tweaking the hiring process to favor one person over another, unfairly favor one person over the other. So you have to fix this, because then you have the, if you don't fix this issue, you have the further issue of having incompetent teachers or unqualified teachers, or essentially the absence of fair play means that the right talent doesn't come to your organization. So you have to definitely fix this issue. So let's take a look at the options. What would fix this issue? Okay. Request the administrators to involve the RC in the overall hiring process, make the administrators aware of the detrimental impact of their actions on the public school system. What will you do by making them aware of the detrimental impact? They know what is the detrimental impact they are doing. They are misusing it because they are corrupt or they are nepotistical. They are not, it's not as if they don't know that what they are doing is wrong. Moreover, it's not that the RC should be involved in the overall hiring process. The overall hiring process needs to change, where you need to address that people should not be able to tweak the process or unfairly favor one person who they know as such. So it's not just that they should be involved, that every appointment should go through the RC as such. What should the RC should do is change the process so that the process is more transparent, the process is less subjective. Instead of them taking a call, this person versus that person, that would actually just mean that the reform committee actually does no reformation, but rather just does the HR practices of hiring and firing as such. That is not the job of the reform committee. They should ensure more transparency, accountability, and the lack of these shady practices. That is their job. So A would not actually do the required job, and so A can be eliminated. Remove all administrators and their close aides from their current positions of responsibility, replace them with new administrators, and set up a clear management guideline. See, the first thing you should remember in organizational behavior is you cannot fire people without sufficient evidence. Especially you can't mass fire people without sufficient evidence. In no organizational policy should you remove people without an investigation. Never. So first of all, removing all administrators without investigation would be super unfair. First thing they will do is go to court and put a stay order on their firing. So definitely this makes no sense at all, and it would definitely not work. So B can be eliminated as such. Inform the mayor about the issue and request him to remove all current administrators and their aides. Take legal action by notifying the relevant authorities. Again, you have not really done a sufficient investigation. Who are the culprits? Who are the ones who have actually unduly favored people? Do you even have a proper hold on what has happened as such? No. You're just firing people based on a feeling or an observation, overall general observation. Involving the mayor is good, but you can't fire people based on a general observation. This will not work. You can't mass fire people as such. Again, C can be eliminated. In general, in organizational DM sets, never mass fire people. That doesn't work. That is wrong HR practice. Unless you have sufficient evidence that those people were involved in illegal practices, you can never mass fire people. Even then, you should individually investigate, have the person have the chance to defend themselves, and then take the decision to fire or not fire. Never mass fire anybody. Set up a team to investigate the issue and compile a report. Use the report as a basis for legislation prohibiting administrators from hiring a candidate without notifying the RC first. This is proper. You should first investigate, have a report in line, and use that to make reforms to the hiring process. Your job as the reform committee is multifold. You have to reform the school system, and part of that is the hiring process. You have to fix the hiring process, not just pick who should be the administrator or who should be the current teacher. You have to fix the hiring process. This actually addresses that you have to actually fix the hiring process. So D would be the right thing to do. Always find out and then act in a general way, in such a way that it is fair and above board to all the employees that are present. Confront the administrators and threaten them with legal action if the issue continues. Warn them how the issue might turn into a scandal if the information is made public. Now here you are using vague threats and public shaming for getting what you want. This is again, it is unethical. If the administrator has done nothing, to be threatened in this way, to be threatened with a public scandal would not be the right thing to do. Moreover, here you are grouping together those who have done wrong with those who have not done anything wrong. You are not in any way investigating who the culprits are. So again, this is incorrect. This will also not be effective, because if you're not actually being individually called out for what you did wrong, but rather being grouped with everyone together, you will continue to be in the mode where they can't individually act against you. So E also does not really address the problem that there are few bad apples. You have to identify them and you have to correct the process that allowed them to be bad apples. So E also can be eliminated. The right option would be option D. So as you can see, if you have a organizational view, a more mature and a view where you do not take any exaggerated or harsh actions, that would actually give you a more fair and balanced option, would be the right option in most cases. So always remember that you should not go to any extremes. You should not take any action which would unfairly target people and where they will lose their livelihood. You should take something where you investigate, identify the bad actors, and only take considered careful steps as such. Okay, so we'll go to the next set. Before we go to the next set, I'd like you to please like the stream. Those who have joined us, please like the stream. If anyone who is preparing for XAT, please share the stream with your friends who are preparing for XAT. It would mean a lot to us if you have a lot of people joining us for these streams. Okay, so I'm going to be posting the next set in a minute. I hope everyone is ready. I'm going to actually put the, I'm going to try to answer all of your questions after posting the stream. So please put in whatever doubts that you have now, so that I answer while the second set is posted. Okay, guys, if you are looking for XAT mocks, please do check out. We have 5 XAT mocks for just $2.99, and I hope that before the XAT exam on Jan 2nd, you guys have taken at least 4 to 5 XAT mocks. So please make sure that you have ample practice before the detail. So I'm posting the next question, and here we go. Guys, yeah, Tanish, Suri will put the link for the DM course. So we have a specific DM course for that. So if you're looking just for help with DM, we have a course specifically for that. So we just have a post over here. Just check out the course there. What's a good attempt in DM out of 21 questions? It's highly subjective. So in the last couple of years, the DM cutoff was single digit. but the accuracy in DM is also fairly low. So given that, I would suggest that out of 21, at least try to attempt 15 so that you comfortably clear any cutoff. Don't attempt DM sets that you don't get at all, but at least try to attempt 15 of the 21. Even you can't rely that the cutoff even this year will be single digit. If DM sets are more deterministic, then the cutoffs can be higher also. So you can't really rely on the trend of the last 2 years. How to deal with QA-based DM? Tanish, focus on questions which are understand like break-even analysis, understand linear programming. Focus on those two concepts. If you get a good hold of those two concepts, you should be able to do the quant-based DM. So I think we have covered these in the course. So do check it out if you're part of the course as such. So if you guys are looking, are looking for a proper schedule or a way to prepare for the course, we have a XAT course. We have like a 2-week course where we are covering all the quant concepts that were already part of CAT, as well as the DM concepts and everything that is extra. So grammar and sentence correction, everything in detail. Even if you are not taking the course, I would suggest that download the schedule that is there. So the schedule will tell you what are the different parts that are that have to be covered. For example, in grammar and sentence correction, what kind of errors come? So you have preposition errors, you have errors on subject and verb agreement. So you have a list of things that you have to actually go through and make sure that you understand properly. So do check out at least the schedule and make sure that you cover and review and revise all parts of that schedule. Even if you don't take our course, please download the schedule. I think he has just put the schedule in the chat box on the website. So do check out the schedule and make sure that you cover everything in that schedule as such. Okay. Is there a qualifying score? So Vasudev, there is no cutoff as such for GK, but how much you score in GK acts as an input in your interview. So by looking at the score in GK, they get a sense of how aware you are as a student. So if you have a poor score in GK, your interview score would be affected. There is no direct cutoff as such. What are the portion for that? Sriram, take a look at our study schedule. If you take a look at our study schedule, you will get a sense of all the things that you have to cover. Much of the CAT portion you have to, quant portion you have to revise. Additional parts would be trigonometry, a more better handle on the formulas from geometry. And for DM section is entirely new, so you have to cover DM in totality. In VALR, you have what is additional is poem RCs are additional, grammar and sentence correction is additional. So you have to take a look at that. Again, you have a few questions which are simple word vocabulary questions. Even that you have to, which are additional to what you see in CAT. Okay, let's see how people are doing in the second set. So you still have 4 minutes left, and I hope everyone is able to do this one. What is covered in the 499 DM course? So basically we do revision of all concepts. DM is covered in, it's just the DM course. So we have identified the different types of DM that are coming. We identify there is DMs which are based on ranking order of information, ranking order of actions, the HR kind of policies, organizational behavior. So just take a look at the course. We have listed all the videos that are essentially part or the types of DMs that come, and we have created a video for each of the type of DM that is there. So that is basically what is covered in the DM course. We give you a concept or the way to approach each type of DM set that comes in XAT. Just focus, I think, focus on the RC section. If you are doing okay in RC in CAT, there's no reason to do poorly in the RCs in XAT as such. Also focus on the grammar and sentence correction. So basically there are 4-5 grammar and sentence correction errors that generally crop up in the questions that come in XAT. Focus on them so that you get the grammar and sentence correction right. If you are somebody who is not very comfortable with literature, poem RCs might be a struggle, so let that be. But focus on the vocabulary questions. They are generally easier, and grammar and sentence correction can be covered in 10 days as such. So you can get much better in grammar and sentence correction if you just read all the rules and actually take a look at some example questions based on that. So focus on that. That will give you at least 4 or 5 marks more in VALR as such. Yash Narayani depends entirely on the XAT marks. I can't tell you a score by default, but try to be above like 98 percentile in each of these marks. It's important that you have a whenever you take the mock, rather than focusing on just the score or the percentile, see the areas that are your weaknesses. Just work on that. That is far more important than the individual score. Vasudev, I'm not really sure about that, but why don't you take a look at our percentile predictor to actually see what would actually help you in the fact that I'm guessing you would have some diversity points because of your undergraduation, but just take a look at our percentile predictor to see what would actually help you there. Okay. Okay. So I think mostly people would be done. So there's 1 more minute left. So let's see. Okay, Neil, how to prepare for utilize the XAT crash from today onwards. So Neil, if you depends on your CAT preparation, if you are still very fresh with the XAT, with the CAT quant preparation, you can maybe skip the revision videos for CAT quant and like the quant videos revision part. Focus mostly on the DM videos that we have put, focus on the grammar and sentence correction videos, focus on the CR videos. These are all things that were not part of your CAT preparation. If you have just come from your CAT preparation plus IFT preparation, you would be fairly good with the other part, the revision part. Maybe you can give that as lower priority. But whatever is the additional section, DM, CR, grammar and sentence correction, poem RCs, just focus on them so that cover that additional part very well in the next 10 days. Okay, guys who have joined us on YouTube or on the platform, please like the stream. It would mean a lot to us if you like the stream. It motivates us to hold more of these streams. So please like the stream. Okay, I think the time would be mostly up. So yeah. I'm kind of surprised that I was expecting a better this first question, but let's take a look at them later on. I think this one was more deterministic, and I'm glad that people were able to answer this properly. Yeah, this was easy. So always remember that some parts of the DM set might be easier than the others. So if you get tripped by the first question, don't take it that I have to skip this DM. There might be easier DM questions in the later part of the set also. So take a look at all of the questions. If you have read the set already, just take a look at all of the questions so that you don't miss a easy part of the DM set. Okay. Now let's start with the set. Let's see what is there. Food Tiger is a food and grocery deliveries platform that has a presence in over 20 countries. The CEO of Food Tiger, Mr. Rawat, has an unorthodox way of running the business. He gives a free rein to his employees to exercise their creativity. This shows in the innovative solutions the team comes up with when a problem presents itself. So this tells you about the organizational culture. The work culture is of freedom. It's of creativity. So basically strict rules or rules which are very hardly enforced or which give less freedom or decision making power to the employees would not be something that would fit with this particular company, because this company is a more flexible one as such. Recently, Mr. Rawat had a series of ideas on how to further improve the productivity and creativity of the employees. He presented his ideas to Misha, the HR head of the company. One major idea was to make work completely flexible. Only the output of an employee and not the input would be considered. Hence, it would be fine if some employees do not show up at all as long as they complete their assignments optimally. Another major idea was to use AI to streamline the hiring and promotion processes. Food Tiger had recently acquired a machine learning company which had developed an AI algorithm to filter candidates based on their resumes and social media profiles. Based on being one of the oldest employees of Food Tiger and a close confidant of Mr. Rawat, it falls upon the shoulders of Misha to guide the CEO through these decisions. Mr. Rawat, however, gave the go-ahead for these to be implemented immediately without any feedback from Misha or other people from the management. Which of the following best highlights the hurdles in implementation of the decision taken by CEO in allowing total flexibility in work? Now, total flexibility in work might sound like a bad idea for most companies, but this is not a company which is similar to most companies. This company actually gives a lot of freedom already to its employees. It gives a lot of creativity and decision making autonomy to its employees. So it's not a regular company where for example, if you did this in a public sector company, it would fail horribly because the employees are already fairly demotivated. They are not the kind of people who would take creative solutions, and they would misuse this horribly by not going to work at all. This is not a company like that. The employees seem fairly self-motivated and try to come up with innovative solutions when given the freedom. So this is not something which is inherently bad. Giving flexibility is not something inherently bad, especially given the setup that this is a company which prides itself in giving autonomy to its employees. Now what is bad is that it is giving complete flexibility and just checking the output of the employee. This, if you consider what would actually go wrong in an organization that does that, firstly, there'd be very little coordination between teams, because you have a company that is spread over 20 countries. How would somebody, if somebody doesn't actually come to work in a set time or go back home at a set time, how would people coordinate over 20 countries as such? And many teams have to coordinate over several countries. For example, tech team and like say many parts of the company have to coordinate over several areas. So how would that happen when you have no set working hours as such? So this clearly coordination would be a huge issue. Even if the employees are very self-motivated, this would still be a huge issue. Again, if you are only considering the output and not the input, employees who are working on issues where there is no immediate output visible would not be valued, because there is no immediate output that is visible. Employees that help other employees or actually work as a glue or a lubricant in the proper functioning of the team would actually be undervalued, even though they are extremely critical for the team to function, because they are not very visible. Their output is not very visible. So these are some things that immediately come to mind when you have a policy like that. Now what would be, one more thing is with the AI decision. So with the AI decision part, if you see what would be the problem with that, basically you would have the problem where the AI could unfairly dismiss people based on an incorrect algorithm. It's essentially a human process that is being replaced by a machine, and a machine can't exactly replicate what would be fair or what would be the right thing to do. So that is another hurdle that could actually come from what is being implemented. So from the options, we have to see what could actually represent a hurdle based on all the things that we can think of. So let's take a look at the first option. The inability to coordinate between different employees and the absence of a clear demarcation between work and personal life. Again, this is clearly one of the issues that would definitely be there. See, if you are working across, if you have teams across 20 countries, if there are no set working hours, then you can't really have a clear demarcation between what would be the working hours. You would have huge difficulty between coordination between teams across different countries. Even in the team in the same country, if people don't come in at the same time, there will be issues with coordination. So this would definitely be a hurdle with what are the proposed changes. Consider option B, the mixing of private and professional life and absence of control over what the employee does during working hours. See, again, the mixing of private and professional life is definitely one of the issues, because if you have no set working hours, there is no real schedule for you to follow. But the point of this change is to actually give more autonomy to the employee. This is a company that wants to give more autonomy to the employee, wants to give the employee the control over how they spend their time. So this is not really an issue. This is a considered move as such. So B would be incorrect. The inability to motivate the employees to perform better and a lack of direct line of communication with each employee at all times. So the employees are in fact motivated by being given freedom. It has been given that when they were given the freedom and to be creative, they actually came up with innovative solutions. So this would actually help their motivation rather than hurt their motivation. So again, C can be eliminated. This is something the employees are going to welcome. This is not something that the employees are going to be against. So anything that tells you that the employees are going to be demotivated would not make sense as such. Some employees will try to avoid work and do the bare minimum, while others will be overburdened. Now, this is not something that would actually be the case, because here you are measuring the output. So if somebody is doing the bare minimum, they will be evaluated based on their output, which would be the bare minimum. Those who are doing more would be evaluated on the fact that they are clearly producing more output. So D again is not an issue with the proposed changes as such. Managers will be unable to properly coordinate between the different teams, while employees will try to use this lack of coordination to avoid work. Now this is the first part is true. Coordinating between different teams is difficult, but it's not as if that the employees are trying to avoid work. They are the employees who are self-motivated, who actually work when given freedom. So E is incorrect. The right option in this case would be option A, where the employees would not, if you don't have set working hours, the employees can actually regulate themselves, but they can't coordinate between each other well enough for you to actually have a coherent product as such. So A would be the main issue with this proposed change. Now let's take a look at the second question. The second question is, a month after it was implemented, the AI was tested upon its efficiency in hiring and promotion. Since the AI was trained on the applicants and performance data for the previous 30 years, when most of the top performers and applicants were men from a certain background, the system could have incorrectly learned that certain types of people, and generally the male gender, are better at performing and hence could have given more points to them. This could have caused the AI to take certain sexist and racist decisions. During the month of implementation, the AI was used in shortlisting for interviews for a number of hirings throughout the company, which might have resulted in many deserving applicants losing out on the opportunity just because they belong to a certain race or gender. What immediate steps should Misha take to allay the situation? Note that some of the job offers have been rolled out to the people selected and some have already started working. So you have a problem where the AI that was used for filtering incorrectly filtered out people who could have been deserving applicants. It had a racist or sexist bias in its filtering process, and it filtered people. It could have removed deserving applicants and given an unfair advantage to less deserving applicants. After that, you had a proper interview process that actually did the hiring, so you can't really say that it was entirely skewed by the AI algorithm, but essentially the filtering process was not right. So let's take a look at the options. Issue a public apology over the fault in the hiring mechanism, roll back the job offers and start work on improving the AI program for a fresh round of hiring. Now, if you roll back the job offers, what does it say about your company? Your company is not taking the process or the impact on the lives of the employees seriously. Some people would have left their job to come and join your company, and now you're rolling back the offer. What kind of an impact would that have on somebody who has joined your company? It would have a devastating impact. You can't do that. You can't roll back offers. Moreover, you had the chance of selecting the employee through an interview process. So even though they might have been a more deserving candidate, you can't say that this person is not deserving, because you actually had an interview process where a human selected this person for the job. So you should never roll back an offer, especially when that person is not at fault at all. So when a person has joined your company in good faith, you cannot roll back the offer. So A can be eliminated immediately. This would be massively unfair to the person who has joined. Add diversity points to the score given by the AI to people from different races and gender, revoke the job offers and then hold the hiring process from the beginning. Adding points is okay. Maybe that's a way to work around the AI algorithm. Might work, might not work, but revoking job offers is definitely not done. These are people who have joined your company in good faith. You can't fire them for something that was not their fault. So B again can be eliminated. Reevaluate the profiles using AI and shortlist the deserving applicants for the still vacant jobs. Issue an apology to those who are unfairly evaluated by the AI algorithm for the roles that have been filled. See, essentially what you can actually fix, you can fix the hiring process for the jobs or roles that have not been filled. The filtering process was wrong. You figure out which deserving applicants were removed unfairly. You try to put them back into the pool for the jobs or roles that are still not filled, so that they still get a chance to actually get the job. When for the roles that have already been filled, there's nothing you can do because that person has joined that role. The only thing that you can and should do is apologize to those people who are deserving applicants who are unfairly filtered out. So C actually addresses the issue, takes ownership of the problem that was there, and is not unfair to anybody who has actually joined your company. So C would be the right step in this particular scenario. Since the offers have been rolled out, let the people hired continue, but feed proper data to the AI to prevent such things from happening in the future. This does not address the fact that deserving candidates were unfairly removed. You owe them an apology, you owe them in an explanation. Moreover, you have to actually fix it immediately for the roles that are still open. Just trying to go through with the current hiring process without fixing that part would be incorrect. You still have those job roles that have not been filled. So this would also be incorrect. Reprimand the technical team responsible for designing the AI and fire the ones responsible for the sexist and racist nature of the AI program. They are not responsible. You did not test it properly. You put it to hire and select based on your own the training data that you gave. It is not the problem of the AI algorithm itself, but what the training data that was provided to the technical team. So this is more on you rather than on the technical team. So, and again, reprimanding the technical team does nothing to actually correct the issue. So E also can be eliminated. The right option would be option C. Let's take a look at the last question. Being a revolutionary entrepreneur comes with certain downsides for Mr. Rawat. The habit of going against mainstream opinion has made him irritable to suggestions of others. When Misha voiced the problem in his decisions, Mr. Rawat did not take it well and went ahead with them anyway. When the decisions were reversed by the board of directors, Mr. Rawat took to social media to degrade the board and its actions. This caused a huge rift in the company. What should Misha do to resolve this situation? See, again, Mr. Rawat has his positives, but this behavior of going to the social media to degrade the company or its board of directors cannot go unquestioned. It has to be stopped, it has to be addressed, and he has to stop doing that. Having said that, Mr. Rawat clearly is a source of good talent for the company. So as long as he corrects that behavior, as long as he takes ownership and accountability for his previous actions, corrects those previous actions, we should try to find a way in which we can retain his good parts but prevent any bad behavior from him. So let's take a look at the options. How should Misha resolve this situation? Advise the board to remove Mr. Rawat from his position as CEO and give him an advisory role unless he apologizes for his behavior. It's more about than just apologizes for his behavior, and firing him as the CEO again would not work, because clearly he is somebody who is a driving force within the company. So again, this would affect the entire work culture of the company if you just fire him for what he did. Again, it's not saying that what he did should be excused, but you should find a more middle ground rather than just firing him. So A can be removed. Hold talks between Mr. Rawat and the board to reach a middle ground, and at the same time make Mr. Rawat accountable for his recent decisions. This is a more moderate path where you are trying to retain Mr. Rawat for his positive values, but making sure that he does not repeat what he has done. He takes accountability for what he has done. So B would be a more moderate approach, which would be best for the interests of the company. Ultimately, what would be good for the company? What would be good for the company is when you have Mr. Rawat still continue to lead, but not do what he was doing on social media. Ignore the rant as a downside to his talent, as it was not the first time he has done so. Definitely not. You should never ignore bad behavior, because it is just going to escalate and keep on repeating. So definitely you should not ignore it. You should definitely address his recent actions. Reverse the decisions taken by Mr. Rawat recently and also get the rant on social media removed. Then ask him to issue a formal apology. This again does not really, the decisions that he took were not the problem. The problem was the way he reacted to criticism. So first you have to address how he reacted to criticism, not just remove the rants on social media. Get him to take accountability and make sure that he does not go to social media about issues within the company. So D also does not address the core issue, but addresses the side issue of the decisions as such. Go and talk to the board and Mr. Rawat personally and try to placate as well as advise both parties. Your first advice or personal advice to him was ignored. You already advised Mr. Rawat, he ignored it as such. The board also spoke to Mr. Rawat, which he ignored. So clearly the personal advice doesn't really work. And it's not just about placating, he has to take accountability for his actions. So E also does not address the issue. So the right option over here would be option B. So as you can see, in this case, you have to find a moderate ground which addresses the issue, which is only in the case of option B. So this is basically how you should answer questions of this type. In this particular DM set, I have tried to give you a lot of insight into organizational behavior, how to answer DM sets based on it. I hope you have learned something along the way, and it was good to have all of you guys over here and all those who liked the stream. Please do check out Kraku's XAT mocks and Kraku's XAT DM course. It would help you quite a bit in cracking the XAT exam. Thank you guys for joining us.